9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Say his name and he appears. I believe it said.
What's up, beautiful people? Happy Monday. It is I, your mayor. If you hear the sounds of my voice, you know what that means. We just watched Monday Night Raw, and we have to recap the show. We got to talk about everything we're doing on the Go Home episode for Monday Night Raw as we head to Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia this Saturday. Let you guys fill in the chat so y'all can rap with me. It's been a long weekend, y'all. A long weekend. And I missed WWT Live earlier because I was working. And also, I'm still recovering. A little tired. If you saw my socials, I was at the MLW show, Slaughterhouse, as well as their, I think, another pre-tape show. Very good card. If you guys aren't paying attention to what MLW is doing, you can watch their shows on YouTube, and they are coming. They got stars, great stars there, great luchadors, great women's wrestlers there. And it's a very strong show. I know on their next upcoming show, I believe in North Carolina, it's going to feature Killer Cross, as well as Priscilla Kelly calling out Shotzi. So good stuff there. And of course, if you saw the socials as well, my Commanders put belt to ass on the Chargers, and I was in attendance right near the front row, and it was glorious. But let's get to Monday Night Raw, y'all. We had a pretty packed show, and I would say this women's wrestling talk, right? The women dominated the show. Point blank, period. All the matches tonight, we had our first 3 matches, I believe, were all women's matches. And that's beautiful to see. We finally ended a show that did not include the Vision in action. And I think that speaks volumes as well, because the Vision have been doing double duty on SmackDown as well as Monday Night Raw. But we opened our show with the Tribal Chief, who made his triumphant return last week. And before he can get a word out after talking about his return, he was interrupted by his former wise man, as well as Big Bronson Reed, who he defeated at SummerSlam. But Bronson Reed laid him out. And this was pretty much just Bronson Reed and Heyman getting the goat of Roman Reigns to try to fight tonight, which I guess we're doing this again. I thought the rivalry was over. I thought Roman might be moving on to Braun Breaker, but we're going to do Bronson Reed again at Perth this weekend, and what is being donned in Australian street fight. And what they did here that I loved is, honestly, there's no need for this match. Again, we've seen it over the summer, but we're getting it again with a new wrinkle, and that's just Bronson Reed shouting about the fact that, hey, you're the Tribal Chief, you're big and bad, but none of your bloodline has ever been stretchered out. Your dad, your uncle, the elders all must think you a punk because you got stretched out by my hands. So what kind of chief are you? That's pretty much the story that Heyman was telling. And it's Bronson Reed, man, looking out, because Heyman being his mouthpiece. Oh my God. Heyman sold the hell out of this. I wasn't here for it, didn't care. And Heyman sold the hell out of this match. And it should be a good one. Should be a good one. And I'm going to call it here before Friday. I think Bronson Reed might get the biggest win of his career in his homeland, because it makes no sense for him not to. If we're not doing Roman in the title picture, we're not doing Roman, Cody, or Punk, or Seth, or any of those things right now, it makes sense to elevate Bronson Reed. And I think Heyman did a great job here of doing so. I don't think Braun Breaker was on the show at all tonight. The rest of the Vision members were. And I just thought that was they came to blows. We know they're going to wrestle on Saturday at Perth. That's how we opened the show. And then we got straight into the women, which dominated the first hour of the show. We saw backstage Asuka demanding Kairi to fight Io. Kairi didn't want to because she felt like she can bring Io back to the family. And I've been very vocal about the way that triangle is going. I'm still holding up hope that something happens where maybe they all listen to Asuka. I know Sindel doesn't like that, but I would want them all to just become family again and just be like Hellraisers on the roster. I think we need that. I think we need a dominant women's faction. I think we're wasting away with having them fight each other, but we know we got Asuka and Kairi tonight. We opened up the show, Maxine Dupree, Becky Lynch. That I'm just going to say, match of the night. Match of the night. Best match of the night. And I'm going to say it might be the best women's match of the week early. And it's only Monday. I know AEW's in Daly's place this week. Mercedes has a mystery opponent. I know we got the traditional Survivor Series women's match tomorrow at NXT Showdown match of the night. And this is why people that might really believe Becky Lynch is the best women's wrestler of all time is because she does elevate the shit at who's opposite of her. Like Maxine showed up and showed out. And man, you can tell the improvements she's getting from Natty in the dungeon. It's paying off because she looked like a WWE superstar tonight. Everything was fluid. The pump knee kicks, the spinning back kick, everything about this match told the right type of story of the underdog achieving her moment. And Becky sold it so well. And I think the way the match ended, where it kind of protected both superstars, with Becky being so arrogant about her that she needed to try to use the tights, then Maxine going to hold the tights as well. But the fact that, give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, peeps. Urgent call. But where was I at? Maxine Dupree, Becky Lynch, match of the night, probably the women's match of the week, if you ask me. And I feel like you saw a lot of what makes Becky Lynch great, which is her elevation of everybody else around her. The fact that she was so arrogant that she got duped by a countout just by beefing with the ref and trying to placate to the crowd, thinking that Maxine was beneath her, and Maxine gets the biggest one of her career. And honestly, it should lead to an Intercontinental title match. And if WWE wants to build another star, something that they have not done much of at all this year or last year, is building new stars, they should have Maxine upset Becky. What does it hurt to have like a transitional champion this time of year for the IC belt? They should have AJ Lee cost Becky the title and move on from there and just continue AJ and Becky without a belt. But I think to elevate Maxine, who's been busting her ass, you can tell by how good she looked in the ring tonight. I think that would be the best case scenario for a rematch with Becky and Maxine, because she's now earned a title match because she has a win over Becky. Let's see. Next up, we saw Lyra taking on Roxanne Perez for the most time for this. Maybe when was the last time they wrestled? Looks like I know Roxanne was in action just a couple weeks ago against Bayley. Roxanne's been a strong Monday Night Raw figure, workhorse of the division, I would say, and Lyra's right there with her. This was a great match. I think before we got to this match, we saw Roman Reigns catching up with the Usos backstage, and we saw some tension between all three men. Pretty much Jay saying, like, I got you, I'll take care of it, kind of leaning to the right-hand man thing again when Jimmy was saying that we got you. So you see that the splitting of the seams there when they should be the Usos, and we just got them back together. And then it left with Jay being upset that upset at Jimmy for kind of fraternizing with the people that he feels like his enemies are. And then, of course, it led with Roman kind of putting the bug in Jimmy's ear that, hey, my ears and eyes are everywhere. I see all. I know all. Why do you think it's bad for him to take advice from me, which we saw later in the night? he's putting the battery back in Jay's back about going after that world title and bringing that title back to the bloodline, which I think is a good look. I think it's another wrinkle in the bloodline story that's definitely needed, especially since Solo on the other end kind of reintroducing the MFTs. And I think Tama Tonga is on his way back to be the last domino in that MFT group. But this is Roman being Roman, even though there's this redemption arc that he's on and he's seemingly gotten with the fan love, kind of like a light tweener babyface type thing. He's telling Jay to go after what he wants to go after. And Jimmy is sitting there conflicted with his brother. We saw later on in the evening that Jay said, or that Roman told Jimmy when he won the world title, Jay became a lot more like Roman than he ever has been about Jimmy, which take that with a grain of salt if you want to. We're starting to see it. We're starting to see the era of Tribal Chief Jey Uso. And that led into our segment with CM Punk, just because Roman said, hey, shouldn't you be talking at the top of the hour? Who's talking? CM Punk. Lyra and Roxanne, good match. We're seeing more of the Schizo Bailey. Didn't do it too much tonight until then a night where Bailey pretty much rushed Lyra backstage to go fight with the Judgment Day even more. But this was a win for Roxanne, and she's taken a couple L's. I think one to Bailey, one to Lyra within the past couple months. So this was good to see Roxanne get back in the win column. I know a lot of people were sitting here up in arms like, oh my God, Roxanne's being buried. And it's like, no, she gets featured literally every week. I feel like she's in action every single week. So what we're doing with this, I think it should lead to the tag team titles. Maybe if not for Bailey and Lyra, at least for the Judgment Day, to get another shot at the titles. I don't think they ever truly got their rematch after losing. But the moral support from Bailey was a little bit too much. That allowed Valkyria to kind of slip up and Roxanne take advantage and get a 3 count over Lyra. So next week, we're going to see them in Perth, Australia next Monday, where the show is starting at 8 a.m. I don't know how that's going to work for us here in the States, but we're going to see the Judgment Day take on Bailey and Lyra next week. Great stuff from Roxanne. Punk opened up the second hour at the top of the show with a promo, and he was immediately interrupted by LA Knight. They had their war words. LA Knight feels like he's next in line for the title, that he has the claim, that it doesn't matter that he's never been the champion. He's adamant that he has next. Punk feels like he never got his rematch and that Seth is always in his way whenever he reaches the top of the mountain. He's still coming after Seth, which allowed Jay to come in and say, hey, I was the champion. I never got my rematch. Honestly, this might lead to some type of triple threat. Jimmy comes out to aid his brother in all this and get between him and Punk, which allowed LA Knight to take a cheap shot on Jay. Jay to take out I'm trying to figure out who took out who. They all end up getting into blows with each other. Jay Rock Knight with a super kick. Then Punk ended up punching Jay in the face, which threw Jimmy off because Jimmy was trying to be the mediator between them. And then Jimmy super kicked CM Punk, which leads to a tag team match that nobody wanted that main event at the show. But that's what we got between these 4 superstars as they're in this different orbit around Crown Jewel. Because at Crown Jewel, we're doing champion versus champion on for both programs, both shows. So I don't know. I mean, the promo made sense. Punk hadn't been seen since the WrestlePalooza match where his wife returned. So it's good to see that Punk has the same goal, which is becoming champion or coming after Seth. And it kind of seems like we're going to run into this space where between Punk, LA Knight, Jay, not to mention Roman, eventually Roman's going to come after Seth for everything that happened at WrestleMania. So I don't know how this is all going to come into play. And of course, we got the last big PLE is Survivor Series. I'm assuming it's going to be War Games in San Diego. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play all that up with each other with all these superstars vying at the top of the card right now. Backstage, we also saw the Judgment Day try to press AJ Styles backstage when he was talking about his upcoming match with John Cena. I have some thoughts about that later. And then AJ said he was going to find a tag team partner to team with him as well as Dragon Lee. Called him Phenomenal Lee. Let's get that trending. And we set up a 6-man tag match with AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, and Penta versus the Judgment Day later on in the show. A lot of repetitive stuff around the tag team titles. We know the tag team titles have only been defended maybe 2 or 3 times. Got to feel like the guys should drop soon because I think it does nothing for the division that the Judgment Day have it. If anything, have the Street Profits come over to Raw and defeat them for the tag titles instead of running them back with the Wyatt Six all the time. But that's another match we had. Then we had Io and Kairi. This is a great match. Sindel says Io versus Kairi definitely should have main evented. It's a top story, and whether you might not like this, it probably didn't main event because Rhea wasn't there tonight. I don't think Rhea was on the show at all. I was waiting for Rhea to come out and make the save, and she never did. But this was a match where Io and Kairi fought. Great match. You can see the chemistry between the two right off the back. Told a great story of Kairi not really wanting to do some of the things she did. Asuka got attacked by Io off rip, and then Kairi wouldn't handle business to the point where they cheated to win. So Kairi got a clean win, so to speak. She got a pinfall over Io. But then what happened after the match with Kairi looking kind of remorseful, kind of feeling sad about defeating Io that way. And Asuka went to the attack on Io right off top. And then Kairi looked remorseful for hitting her with the back fist and hit her with the insane elbow. There was nobody to make the save. And you can kind of see the character work Kairi is doing where she is really torn. And then earlier in the night, and I'm sorry I didn't get to this, Sindel, we saw Asuka actually strike Kairi backstage when Kairi didn't want to face Io. So Sindel is always in here saying that Asuka's gaslighting. And yeah, I can see it a little bit, but at the end of the day, Asuka's right. Asuka's right. They had the whole vignette where Io was crying and saying, like, I wanted to be like you. That's the only reason I wanted to become champion. And you were my family. And, like, why would you throw that away? Like, we're telling the truth between the lines here. I just think that the writers are trash and couldn't just make a dominant women's faction here. But Kairi Sane defeated Io Sky, and I think that's a big win for Kairi because before we got onto this whole Kabuki Warriors trip for no reason, I think because we had them team together around the summertime, Kairi returned and had like a good singles winning streak. So if we're getting back to that and she pins top 2 women's star in the company, we can get back to what Kairi was. But we know the Kabukis are going to face Rhea Io in Perth this weekend at Crown Jewel. And honestly, man, I know the hometown kid doesn't typically go over because you want to have the jeers and the boos and things like that. If I'm picking the hometown kid to go over, it's not Rhea. It's not Rhea this weekend. It has to be Bronson Reed. However you got to do it, if Braun Breaker interferes, whatever you got to do, Bronson Reed needs to be the Aussie that wins this weekend, not Rhea Ripley. I want to be swerved so bad to where Io comes to her senses and joins with her family. But we've already come to blows. She's already been attacked twice, been misted. Kairi clearly has the door open for Io. And maybe Io just realizes that her and Rhea are gunning for the same thing eventually, which is Stephanie McCurr. So eventually it's going to have to come to pass. Sindel says, by the way, we have a triple threat for the women's world title at the Japan Super Show. Stephanie McCurr versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that I think that's going to take place after the fact. But at some point, this Rhea and Io thing has to bust at the seams, and it can't be a thing unless we're just going to put them in a tag team because we put all our great single stars in tag teams because we don't know how to write for them. Totally can be a thing. We're seeing it with AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. We're seeing it with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. Just more of the same. Backstage, we had a moment with Becky Lynch crashing out about losing to Maxine Dupree, pretty much cursing at the ref for being a crooked ref for the second time in as many weeks. And then we have a moment with Seth Rollins questioning Paul Heyman about what happens if he loses, because he's 0-3 against Cody Rhodes, saying that he has to win. Pretty much going around the lines of saying, like, hey, Paul, are you going to leave me if I lose? And Paul, after saying, hey, you're going to lose the trust of Bronson Reed, you're going to lose the trust of Braun Breaker, they won't believe in you anymore. You'll be a footnote. You'll be a secondary champion to Cody Rhodes, who's the bigger champion right now. All the Netflix era will be for nothing if you don't beat Cody Rhodes, because we've seen you lose all these times before, so don't lose. And he asked Paul directly, hey, you didn't bring up yourself. What happens if I lose with you? And he says, I have to question why I chose you over Roman Reigns. Now, we now know Roman Reigns is not going to accept Paul Heyman back. Paul Heyman is seen as just the Paul Heyman person where he's only going to look out for his own best interest. So, I mean, listen. By the time 2025 roll around, don't be surprised if you get a grand finale with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Don't be surprised. So I think that's going to be Brock Lesnar's last year wrestling as we have SummerSlam, two-night SummerSlam in Minnesota next year. Don't be surprised. They just dropped the tea leaves at WrestlePalooza a little bit. You probably get the final hurrah with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar next year, however this vision thing plays out over the next few months. But the Oracle has proven that he's going to look out for himself. We did have that moment with Jay, Jimmy, and Roman backstage where Jimmy tried to tell Roman, like, hey, he's nothing like you. And he's nothing like Jimmy. And then that's when Roman dropped the bar, like he's been more like me than you ever since he won the title. And then Jimmy kind of having that stale look on his face. I feel like Big Jim had a good couple months, and now we're getting back into the cowardly Big Jim where he don't got no voice in the bloodline. I don't know why we did that. Big Jim been riding high. He about to raise a family with Naomi. After Naomi had her high, everybody's loving Big Jim, and it seems like we just kicked Big Jim down a couple rungs for no reason. Playing second fiddle to not only the tribal chief, but now to his twin brother. What are we doing? What are we doing? But that's ahead of the tag team match we had as the main event. Next up, we had the story of Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins in a vignette that aired where we just go through the war of words where Cody thought that Seth was his friend and that he was his shield. And Seth is saying that was just a cause for a greater good, lesser of two evils. But Cody's saying like, hey, bring whoever you want to the dance on Saturday. You're still 0-3. And whatever you can do with your people, however you got to cheat to win, you can't beat me. You're 0-3. That's the story we're telling here for the diamond encrusted ring. So we'll see. I think Seth should win because Cody Rhodes is way too polished right now. And this is a meaningless match for a meaningless title. So we will see how they do. If they push Cody and Tiffany over, oh man, that's just going to be a bad look. It'd be a bad look for Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Not going to hold you. It'd be a real bad look. Judgment Day taking on Styles, Dragon Lee, and Penta. Great match here. Ended with Styles getting the win because Dom cowered out like he normally does. So we're going to see those Judgment Day ties start to sever even further because Dom keeps leaving Finn and JD hanging out to dry. Rusev came out and got involved in the match to an extent, but he was actually attacked or inadvertently attacked by Penta, I believe, which caused Dom to flee with his titles and for AJ Styles to hit a Styles Clash on JD and get the pin for his team. Got to believe that Phenomenal Lee is going to get a tag team shot in the next couple of weeks. It might happen in Perth on Monday night next week. We'll have to see, but the Judgment Day definitely had to defend their titles more. And this is what I love about what we're doing with AJ Styles. We saw the history between AJ Styles and John Cena earlier tonight since 2016. John Cena getting his 16th title reign over AJ Styles, and just the rivalry they've had with AJ Styles being the face of TNA while John Cena was the face of WWE, to AJ Styles becoming the face that runs the place because he beat John Cena. This is just nostalgia right here. It doesn't have to be any beef. We don't need to have a promo segment between both guys. We haven't seen John Cena much since WrestlePalooza. So it's like, this is just a match. It's a match between two guys at the end of their careers, two guys that have been on the top of their games for almost all of their careers. And they're just going to put on a phenomenal match on Saturday in Australia for the final time. And the one thing that's a caveat that kind of makes me upset is that this match, if John Cena wins, he'll get his 100th PLE victory. He's only 7, or right now he's 8 shy of Undertaker, who has 107. What are we doing? We could have had John Cena booked every PLE this year so he can break that record the Undertaker has, if we're being honest. I don't know why we're not doing that. But why didn't we give John Cena that win at WrestlePalooza over Brock Lesnar? Why couldn't we have the first ever WrestlePalooza, the first ever ESPN PLE, and the greatest of all time getting his 100th PLE victory over Brock Lesnar on the first ESPN syndicated PLE? Like, who didn't look at the storyline and think that that was a dope idea that ESPN could have hung their hat on for the rest of this partnership for however long it continues? That makes no sense in the world to me that they didn't pull that trigger a couple weeks ago there. But we'll see what happens in Perth. It should be a good match at the end of the day. I don't know which way they want to go because AJ Styles is obviously in a tag team now and on his way out the door, while John Cena only has a few more dates left. So I don't know how they want to paint John Cena after losing to Brock Lesnar. No clue. That might be the beauty of that entire match. It's truly a 50-50 matchup that we just have to wait and see. Okay, let's see. Dom will probably be in trouble with the Judgment Day next time we see him on camera. We end the night without the Vision for once. Yes, without the Vision. Main event, CM Punk and LA Knight versus the Usos. Punk says, like, hey, I know you don't want this match. I don't want this match. Just don't mess up out there. LA Knight says, don't get pinned. The match was interesting. Seemed like the Usos were not really in sync in this match is the story I think they were trying to tell, even with the delayed entrance, with them taking more longer to come out. So while we thought we were getting the Usos reunion, it seems like, hey, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's Jay. You can tell by them not matching the colors. This is the first time Jay has not worn black in many weeks. Got to get that merch plug. But it's you're starting to see Jay separate from his brother. And we saw LA Knight and CM Punk get the victory after a series of moves that took everybody out. But then Punk pretty much doing the dirty work and getting Jay what they go to sleep after a spear was missed. But what we saw was Knight tag himself in and steal the pin from CM Punk. So we're telling that story there. And it's kind of like, it feels like heel work, but not really, because Jay pinned Knight a few weeks back, and Knight just wanted his pinfall over Jay. He just wanted to get his lick back. And that's what that told me. While Punk is bipartisan all this, he just got attacked by one of the twins. It's like, hey, now you bucking up at me, I'm going to buck up at you. But the one-upsmanship between Knight and Punk will probably parlay into a match later on as we get closer and closer to who Seth's next challenger is going to be. Or we might get a, I don't know, maybe a fatal four-way at one of these shows. As we get closer to Survivor Series, I think it makes more sense to not even do War Games. Like, there's too many storylines that kind of supersede that type of match, which is why I wish they would just do it in NXT. But we'll see. But that was Monday Night Raw. Like I mentioned, next week, we're going to get Bayley and Lyra versus the Judgment Day. Dom is going to be defending the IC title against Penta. And I'm pretty sure Rusev is going to get involved there because he's now involved. And I think pretty sure he's going to try to wiggle his way into a triple threat in the next upcoming weeks. But we got Crown Jewel this weekend. Like I said, match of the night, Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupree. And I challenge any women's match in any promotion the rest of the week to do better than that. But again, we got some more shows. We got NXT Showdown. Since they changed it from Invasion coming tomorrow night, we should have some post-show content for you there. Of course, AEW coming from Daily's Place this week. And then we have our SmackDown, and we should have a Crown Jewel watch along as well, along with the WWT Live news. We're going to keep it locked for you guys. We'll be back at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time for WWT Live this week. I'll try to be there on Wednesday with you guys. I appreciate you guys for rocking in the chats with me. Thank you, Sindel. The mayor is going to go get some rest now because I lost my voice at the game yesterday. But I appreciate y'all rocking me. This has been the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. Stay tuned for all my MLW content, and I'll see y'all later this week. Peace.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.